Hello, basketball fans. I'm Dave, Fantasy Basketball Analyzer. Let's get ready for Week 4 with a look at the Week 4 schedule. So we'll look at games played. Then, because it's kind of in vogue with all the Kawhi hubbub, I went ahead and looked at the individual teams, and I'll show a grid with that, highlighting all the back-to-backs. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of strength of schedule in place of kind of some of the injury talk. If that works for you, guys, let me know in the comments below. If it doesn't work for you, also let me know in the comments below. The show is supposed to be helpful for you, so whatever works for you is what I'll try and incorporate. So let's get into the schedule for Week 4. But first, beer! Today's beer is the Sun Crusher by Revolution Brewing. I actually got this, a little look behind the curtain. I actually got this for when DeAndre Ayton got suspended for 25 games. But then I forgot to do it. I think I got excited about the dunk rejected at the rim video. And so I've had this beer, despite being a wheat beer, not really being my thing, generally. For the Aiden joke, and if I don't use it now, when the schedule is about to crush the Suns, then, what am I going to do? So, let's turn on the internet. Let's take a look at the schedule. This week, most of the teams have 3 games, with the exception of the 4 games, which you can read, Atlanta, Boston, so-and-so, and so-and-so. The 2 games are where it's going to be rough. Milwaukee, OKC, and Phoenix. In my opinion, Giannis is the only person even playable from those squads if they've got 2 games each. Hence, the Sun Crusher for this week's video. You got to look at your team. It's easy for me to say Giannis is the only one to play from those 3, but if you're looking and you don't have a backup point guard, then you got to roll out Phoenix's guards. As with anything, it depends on your league. Mileage will vary. It's worth noting, and it's somewhat of a retraction from last week, that the Clippers play 4 games this week, but in my prior video that I did about Kawhi, I had it wrong. They have a back-to-back this week, so I put a little asterisk there by the Clippers because they play 4 games, but they got a back-to-back, and they're both on the road, so it means that Kawhi might not play one of those 2. So let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule grid, and I went ahead and highlighted all the teams when they had back-to-backs in play. So you can look at this. I'm not going to read everything to you. You've got eyes, but you can pause the video because it's YouTube, and that's great. Or you can grab a screenshot or whatever if you need this all in one handy-dandy spot to take a look. But of note to me is that the Clippers have the back-to-back. Also, this isn't necessarily schedule-specific, but Detroit has 3 games, and Blake Griffin's coming back from his injury and intends to play Monday night. I wonder if he's going to play because it seems like they're not easing him in very much if he plays both Monday and Tuesday on a back-to-back in Miami. I don't have any inside information. So, maybe Monday morning, check the reports on that. Although, why would coach just tell us the truth? And maybe if they plan on him playing Tuesday, they don't really know until he gets in there and starts playing and sees how he feels. So that's kind of the schedule rundown. I don't want to belabor the point with too much schedule stuff, frankly, because I've put on a lot of schedule videos, and I'll keep doing it because I want to help, and I think this really impacts your roster. But it's not as interesting as some of the other things I can do, and it takes a lot of time to put these sheets together. So I'm going to share them, but rather than doing like a 10, 15-minute video about it, I'm just going to try and condense it. Something I was asked about by a viewer / my brother Tim was asking if I was going to do any looks at like strength of schedule. And so I thought I'd try it this week, see what you guys think. I've replaced kind of the injury section of the video with strength of schedule look. And I wanted to share a little of my philosophy with that. Having good defense, having bad defense can be a little fluky, especially this early on in the season. If people are hitting their threes at a really abnormally high rate, you're going to be shown as having a bad defense. That's not necessarily true. Defense is kind of more about what shots you give up than whether or not those shots go in. Maybe that sounds counterintuitive. Giving up the mid-range 2 versus a shot by the rim or more valuable 3-point. You're kind of controlling those things. That said, Milwaukee gave up tons of shots from 3 last year. That was just what they conceded. And it didn't really bite them. Now, was that fluky percentage going low, or it was okay because I didn't give up anything else? That's a whole different and interesting discussion, but doesn't really help you prime for this week. So rather than trying to break it down by like, here's your centers, here's your forwards, because it gets, how do you rate defense against a power forward, but they give up a lot of rebounds, and that's what you need. It all seems a little fluky, at least this early on. So the way I usually look at it is the way I think of things for daily fantasy sports. So if I'm playing DFS, I'm really curious about teams playing up in pace of play or down in pace of play. Because if there's a quicker pace, they get the ball more, there's more chance for counting stats. So I went ahead and pulled the Hollinger ratings for pace of play and defensive rating, averaged them out, and I used that to kind of find for us who we think the bottom barrel defender / fastest teams would be. So looking at that chart, and I've got everyone on here, so feel free to look at it and disagree with anything I said. But we'll try and take this analysis approach, see what you guys think. It's worked for me well in the past for daily fantasy sports, but across a week-long view, you're playing 3 or 4 different teams. How do you find that average and be accurate and be worthwhile and not just noise? So based on fastest pace / lowest defensive efficiency, New Orleans, Golden State, Houston, Memphis, and Washington are the ideal teams to play, meaning weakest defense, fastest ball movement. So if we take this view and go back to the schedule grid, showing the games played, I went ahead and highlighted all the teams that are playing one of these 5. So you can kind of see maybe where the green pops. So Boston, the Clippers, Minnesota are going to play 2 of these teams in the fastest, weakest categories. Now, unfortunately for the Clippers, that is during their back-to-back. In fact, for Minnesota as well. But with the Clippers, because of Kawhi and all that, I don't want to overblow it, so I kind of want to stop talking about it. But it doesn't matter. Maybe they don't get to take full advantage. But potentially, looking at the schedule like this, seeing which opponents they're playing and stuff, maybe that means someone like Patrick Beverley on the Clippers is even more enticing, because he's got 4 games and 2 of them are against 2 of the faster-paced teams. But it's not a perfect system, and like I said, when you're playing all of these games, this team's strong, this team's weak, or the fact that I chose 5 teams to highlight versus, say, 8 teams or 10 teams is a little bit arbitrary. So something this schedule grid's overlooking is the Lakers. It's showing they play Golden State, which is one of the weakest defenses out there. But they're playing Phoenix, Golden State, Sacramento, and Atlanta. That's a pretty good schedule for playing particularly a big man, but anyone. Phoenix is fast, Golden State's fast, Sacramento, Atlanta are all crazy fast. Phoenix and Atlanta have their starting centers suspended simultaneously. So these guys are out for 25 games, well, originally. So if you had a need to, for whatever reason, play, say, Dwight Howard, because you need blocks and a bunch of rebounds, well, not only are these teams that are running, but they've also got a gap on their side for big men, so maybe he gets more rebounds. But also maybe that's just too much running and Dwight's not going to do it, and we're going to get more JaVale McGee. So I wanted to highlight that, see if it helps you out anything. I mean, Boston has 2 games against the weaker opponents and 4 games overall. So potentially that means maybe Marcus Smart would be the type of guy who's like on your bench. Maybe you don't play him all the time, but you might want to get him in this week with his 4 games over, say, Dennis Schroeder, who's only going to play 2 games. So there's a kind of breakdown, help you set your lineups. Feel free to, you get to watch this video, pause it on a certain spot, replay wherever you need to find what you're looking for, or obviously just grab screenshots and stuff. Let me know if you like the look at strength of schedule in this video. If you miss me doing injuries, if you want them both in here, if the shorter video format's working better for you, let me know in the feedback. And then we're going to start adding up some more shows in here. Like I said, try and talk with DFS. I saw the request, talk more about waivers. I've built that out. I've got all this stuff I want to do. It's just taking time getting the channel from 0 to 60. It's a lot of work doing it by myself. But I'm doing it for you guys, and I'm excited that we're getting close to our first 100 subscribers, and that's pretty cool. and then we'll keep going. And I got some fun things planned for the future. I just got to get them out to you. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good week 4. Go out and win this thing.